It's a Tuesday night, and Maya is sitting cross-legged on her apartment floor with her laptop open and a half-eaten bowl of pasta going cold next to her. She's not doom-scrolling. She's not watching anything. She's doing something she does about once a month that she never tells anyone about. She's adding up her money. Checking account, savings. The 401k she started 2 years ago that she keeps meaning to increase but hasn't. She writes the number down on a sticky note, stares at it, then opens a new tab and types, "How much should a 30-year-old have saved?" The first result tells her 1 times her annual salary. She makes $58,000. The benchmark says she should have $58,000 saved. She looks at the sticky note. She does not have $58,000 saved. She has $11,400. And just like that, a Tuesday night turns into an hour of quietly wondering if she's the only one this far behind, or if everyone else is just better at pretending. Here's what I need Maya to hear, and what I need you to hear if you've ever done a version of that math on a Tuesday night. The benchmark she's measuring herself against is not wrong because she failed to hit it. It's wrong because it was never built for her economy. My name is Nick, and today we're doing what I wish someone had done for me at 30. We're finding out what the average person your age actually has, what that number is really made of, and why the gap between where you are and where you think you should be says almost nothing about your financial future, and almost everything about the era you graduated into. Subscribe if you want to keep running the real numbers on this stuff, because the benchmark is one thing. The math underneath it is something else entirely. And the math is actually on your side. But we have to get through the uncomfortable part first. Let's start with the number everyone throws around. Fidelity, one of the largest retirement account managers in the country, publishes a set of savings benchmarks that have become the unofficial scorecard for an entire generation. By 30, they say, you should have 1 times your annual salary saved for retirement. 1 times. Sounds reasonable, almost modest. Until you do what nobody does, which is ask where that number actually came from. The 1x benchmark assumes you started saving at 22 right out of college. It assumes you had income to save from day 1. It assumes your student loans were manageable enough that you had discretionary income in your mid-20s. It assumes you didn't graduate in 2008, 2009, 2010, or 2011 into an economy that was still on fire. It assumes a lot of things that describe a financial reality most 30-year-olds today have never lived in. But even setting all of that aside, let's just look at what the number means in practice. The median income for Americans aged 25 to 34 is roughly $56,000. 1 times that is $56,000 saved by 30. Fully in retirement accounts, accessible only under penalty until your 60s. That's the bar. That's what the headlines are measuring you against. Here's what the actual data says. According to Vanguard's most recent How America Saves report, the median 401k balance for Americans under 35 is $18,357. Not $56,000. Not even close. The average, which gets inflated by high earners at the top, is $49,370. But the median, the person standing in the exact middle of the entire distribution, has $18,357. And if you're sitting there right now, doing the same math Maya did on her sticky note, and your number is somewhere in that range or below it, I need you to hear this clearly. You are not an outlier. You are the middle of the distribution. You are the data. Now, before we go any further, I want you to do something slightly uncomfortable. Same thing I asked in the 45-year-old video, because it matters just as much here. Pause. Open your banking app, your 401k, your savings account. Add up everything you own. Every dollar. Then subtract everything you owe. Student loans, car loan, credit card balances, all of it. Write down the number. That is your net worth. Not your savings balance, your actual financial position. Hold that number because everything that comes next is going to reframe what it means. Got it? Good. Here's the real scoreboard for age 30 in 2026. If your net worth is below negative $30,000, you are in the bottom 25% for your age group. That sounds bad, but it includes millions of people carrying student loan balances that push them firmly into negative territory before they've had a single year to build anything. If you're sitting around $0 to $10,000, you're hovering near the median. The actual median net worth for Americans aged 25 to 34, according to the Federal Reserve's most recent survey of consumer finances, is approximately $14,000.
Not $56,000. Not 1 times your salary. $14,000. If you have $50,000 or more, you're in the top 25% for your age group. That's doing genuinely well. If you're at $130,000 or above, you're in the top 10%. And if you're at $500,000 or more at 30, you're in the top 1%. And you are probably not spending Tuesday nights doing math on sticky notes wondering if you're behind. So the median 30-year-old in America has about $14,000 in total net worth. That's the real number, not the benchmark, not the average inflated by tech founders and trust funds. The person standing in the actual middle of the country at your age has $14,000 to their name after subtracting everything they owe. But here's the part that changes the whole picture, because just like the 45-year-old whose net worth is mostly locked in home equity they can't actually spend, the 30-year-old's number has something hiding inside it too. And once you see what that $14,000 is actually made of, the story gets a lot more complicated. Let's talk about what that number is sitting on top of. The average student loan balance for borrowers aged 25 to 34 is approximately $33,000. About 43% of people in that age bracket carry federal student loan debt, which means for nearly half of all 30-year-olds, the math doesn't start at zero. It starts at negative $33,000. Every dollar saved before that debt is retired is fighting a headwind. A $10,000 savings account against a $33,000 loan balance is a net worth of negative $23,000. That's not financial failure, that's arithmetic. And the rent situation is doing the rest of the damage. The homeownership rate for Americans under 35 is about 38%, down from 43% in 2005, which means roughly 62% of people in their early 30s are renting. And renting in 2026 is not what renting was in 2010. The median asking rent in the United States right now is approximately $1,700 a month nationally. In most mid-sized cities, it's higher. In major metros, it's dramatically higher. When rent eats 30, 35, 40% of your take-home pay, the math for building savings isn't just hard, it's structurally constrained in a way that has nothing to do with discipline. You cannot out-discipline a rent payment that takes up the same space your entire savings contribution would need to occupy. And here's the number that ties all of this together in a way that should make anyone who casually throws the 1 times benchmark around feel a little embarrassed about it. The Economic Policy Institute found that real wages for young workers ages 21 to 34 grew by less than 3% between 2000 and 2022 when adjusted for inflation. 3% over 2 decades. Meanwhile, average rent increased by over 70% in real terms over the same period. And college tuition at public 4-year universities nearly doubled in real terms since 2000. So the income went up slightly. The 2 biggest costs of being a young adult went up massively. And the benchmark that says you should have 1 times your salary saved by 30 was written against a cost structure that no longer exists. That's not an excuse. That's a structural fact. Let's zoom out and put this in full context, because this isn't just about savings rates or rent prices in isolation. There's a sequence of events that shaped the financial reality of every person currently in their late 20s and early 30s, and understanding the sequence is what makes the individual number make sense. If you're 30 right now in 2026, you were born in 1995 or 1996. You were 12 or 13 years old when the 2008 financial crisis happened. You watched adults around you lose jobs, lose houses, lose retirement accounts. That was your financial education before you ever had a dollar to your name. The lesson the economy taught you during your most formative years was that the floor can disappear. You graduated high school into a recovery that felt fine on paper and fragile in practice. You were told college was non-negotiable for a decent life. The people telling you that were not wrong given the data at the time. But the cost of the credential you were told you needed went up faster than any reasonable return on it could justify, and the loan products designed to fund it were handed to 18-year-olds with no financial literacy and no cosigner requirement, and no one in the room explaining what $40,000 at 6.5% looks like when you're 28 and trying to also pay rent. You graduated into a job market that was technically recovered but deeply changed. Remote entry-level roles were rare. Starting salaries for non-technical degrees were largely flat. The gig economy offered flexibility and stripped benefits simultaneously. And housing, the traditional wealth-building engine for every generation before yours, had already run out of the affordable window by the time you had enough saved to participate in it.